Good evening. Welcome to another podcast. Today we're going to be diving more into like the meat and potatoes, if you will, the messianic prophecies and what can be learned from them. I got an interesting study, for today. We're going to get into a lot of scripture, but recap of my week before we get started. Had a crazy week. I actually worked a 12-hour shift on Monday. And it's funny because it's I've told you guys on many different occasions that um, as far as different things me at 22 starting the job starting like retail versus me at 47 is completely different. Also, the same thing when it comes to working a 12-hour shift. I worked 6 a.m. to midnight working at Dillon's one day, self checkout because I opened and then my the person who came in after me called in sick, and so I was asked to work till midnight. And needless to say, after that I was gassed. But the thing is like I mean I had a lot more energy than I do now, and I felt bad because um, towards the end of my shift, I think like 3 hours left to go. I went out to like wait on customers as I was trained to do working at Dillon's, and I had a customer who was ready to check out. He made the motion like he was ready to check out, but I just kind of had this out of it look, and like I don't know where I'm at. I was telling my boss I don't know my name. I was just zapped as far as energy wise. Um, and now, if I get a chance to talk to that customer, I'm sure we'll laugh and joke about it because he's always real nice to me. Everybody in this area is usually really nice to me. Um, but uh, but it's like but it's one of those things. Your energy as an older adult. Well, I mean, I'm not old yet. Like some may disagree, but that's okay. Um, so yeah, energy was a bottomless pit as when I was younger. As an adult, I mean, as in almost 50, it's not an endless. It's not a bottomless pit. It's a okay. Once you're out, you're out. But yeah, it was a pretty interesting week. Then so yeah, now getting into the podcast on a Sunday, which was the initial consistent day that I do it. But yeah, so um, we're gonna get into the study real quick. Just starting out with Genesis chapter 17. I was like, just as I'm looking it up, I was pretty hard on myself last week as far as when I went into the genealogy chapter, and because I was like, it it didn't work the way that I thought it was, the way I envisioned it working. But one thing you learn in whenever you teach is there are some things that work with the way you teach and some things that do not. You look at it and say, yeah, that didn't work very well, so we won't do it. We'll just kind of reference it if you guys want to look at it. Or I'm sure there are people here who watch this who may be more um, Bible versed than I am. Um, that's like, yeah, this is where like, and like, maybe able to teach it way better than I could and make it, make it sound like, make it sound awesome. But yeah, I'm not one of them yet, so we'll see how that works. But here we are going into Genesis 17. And when Abram was 90 years old and 99, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be a father of many nations. Neither shall your name be any more called Abram, but your name shall be called Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made you. And I will make you exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings shall come out of you. And I will establish my covenant between me and you, and your seed after you, and their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after you. And I will give unto you, and to your seed after you, the land wherein you are a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said to Abraham, You shall keep my covenant, therefore, you and your seed after you and their generations. This is my covenant which you shall keep, between me and you, and your seed after you. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. And you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations. He that is born in the house, or bought with money, or any stranger which is not of your seed. He that is born in your house, and he that is bought with your money, must need be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. And God said unto Abraham, As for Sarai your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her, and give you a son also of her. Yeah, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? And Abraham said unto God, Oh, that Ishmael might live before you. And God said, Sarah your wife will bear you a son indeed, and you shall call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto you at this set time in the next year. And he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the same day, as God has said unto him. And Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. In the same day was Abraham circumcised and Ishmael his son. And all the men of his house, born in the house and bought with money of the stranger, were circumcised with him. Now, the Acts and Acts I think talks about circumcision. I think so does Romans. But one thing about like circumcision, I have been circumcised for those people who want to know. Mom told me about it. I didn't ask about the I didn't ask about it. It probably hurt, but any it's funny. Any surgery that you do, the younger you are, the quicker you heal from it. And but like as you get older, those surgeries hurt a lot more. That's kind of a sidebar about that. Um, so it probably hurt. It probably hurt Abraham more than it hurt Ishmael, because Abraham being 99 years old and Ishmael is like 13. But this kind of a sidebar. But after Isaac will Abraham's seed be called. Abraham and Sarah both laughed. Given a son at 190, God is not limited as to when and how a blessing can be given. He doesn't need complete belief. He just needs our willingness to obey what he tells us to do and trust that he says it will happen. And now it's funny as if you read Genesis 18 when it talks about when God when Sarah overhears God talking to Abraham about it, she laughed in her tent, and then God's like, "Why do you laugh?" And she says, "I didn't laugh." And he says, but you did." And it's like trying to hide from God, but God's like, "Yeah, you can't fool me." But it never even really bothered him that we laugh at him. I mean, we're human beings. I mean, we doubt, and it's taught a lot that a doubt is the doubt is an enemy of faith. Yes and no. Um, One thing I like about the story of Jesus and talking about no sign will be given you except for the sign of the prophet Jonah is if is the fact that if you are asking God for a sign out of unbelief and that you don't want to believe, he'll tell you no sign will be given except for the sign of the prophet Jonah. But if you are asking God for a sign because you want him to help your unbelief, because we're all there, we're human beings. We get discouraged. We deal with we deal with ups and downs in life just like everybody else. And so asking God for a sign to help our unbelief, he's good with that, because he doesn't want us to get discouraged to the point where we no longer follow him. But yeah, so that distinction's important. Um, and like and so let's see. What First Kings chapter 18 when it talks about Elijah and the prophets of Baal, Elijah and his men poured 3 barrels of water on the sacrifice. This is important because even our acts to sabotage the blessing cannot stop God. Now, usually water quenches the fire. The fire of God, no, water can't consume the fire of God. And this is what happened when the fire of God fell from heaven to consume the sacrifice. it consumed the sacrifice. It consumed the water around the like around the like the base, and it consumed. I mean, like it licked up every last drop of the water. It was like and so everybody that was there was like God, He is the God. It's like kind of like I can only imagine as far as sports, like if you watched watch basketball, or you watch whatever whatever sport, like Michael Jordan did it again. Oh my gosh, he had to like clutch, like or John Elway or whatever your quarterback is, Patrick Mahomes. Like, is there anything he can't do? Well, it's like that's kind of the same thing that was going on here with only with God, which is probably a bigger thing. Is like because the prophets of Baal were mocking God, and you don't mock God. God is not mocked. Um, but uh, but yeah, even let's see. So yeah, God. So yeah, like if God wants to bring a blessing to our lives, as unless we rebel against Him, He's going to deliver what He promised, exceedingly abundantly above what we ask or think. Now Genesis 22 1-19. And yeah, Dr. David Jeremiah years ago, I used to love. I used to love listening to him. He's still probably my favorite television pastor. But the way he broke down Genesis 20, or not Genesis 22. We're going to Genesis 22. But the way he broke down Ephesians 3:20, exceedingly abundantly above all, it's like that the way he did, get people pumped up, and that's the way we should be with God. It's like get pumped up about the things that He does, because I used to, and I still do love, whenever God pulls through, when I doubted that He would, and He did pull through. I'd sing this song. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. We all know that song, but yeah, but yeah, I love love Rich Mullins. Always will. But anyway, as a sidebar, um, how many sidebars are going to give for this sermon? I have no idea. But anyway, back to the regularly scheduled program, already in progress. And it came to pass, we're in Genesis 22:1. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said to him, Abraham, and he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now your son, your only son, Isaac, who you love, and get you into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell you of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went unto the place which God had told him. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide here with the donkey, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. It's starting to get wrinkled a little bit. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand, and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spoke unto Abraham his father, and said, my father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went, both of them together. And they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Don't lay your hand on the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that you fear God, seeing that you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah Jireh, as it is said to this day, In the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because you have done this thing, and have not withheld your son, your only son, that in blessing I will bless you, in multiplying I will multiply your seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. Now, another sidebar. It's walking in Abraham's shoes here. Let me go ahead and get a drink. Walking in Abraham's shoes here. He'd waited 100 years. Well, actually, I mean his wife was impatient as far as like when they had Ishmael. Hagar, Abraham and Hagar, Hagar, bore Ishmael, but God promised Abraham that in Isaac will the seed will his seed be called. Well, okay, as a human being, okay, I'm waiting on God is actually, oh boy, God, you have promised me this thing, and now that I have him, now you're wanting me to sacrifice him. Like, wait a minute, God, what are you doing here? He wanted to make sure that Abraham trusted God and not the blessing that he was given. And because we do this all the time as human beings, we and that was the problem with we went into Adam with Eve, and even Abram and Sarah, and Sarai was do with him what you will. He both cases they trusted the blessing more than the blesser. We as humans all do that, and it's not a good idea. And so Abraham, I believe this test was okay, where is your heart at? Is your heart to like to trust me, or is your heart with the blessing and not me? And so when he like when he was about ready to sacrifice his son, um, he showed that my heart is with you, and like knowing that you will, you will provide. But in a and then also on a deeper level, we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, God doesn't expect anything of us that He doesn't expect of Himself. He commanded Abraham to offer his only son Isaac. God offered his only begotten son Jesus as a sacrifice for our sins. Now, yeah, he offered. And Jesus actually, died. He died for for our sins, but hence what made the Abraham's seed as wide as like the stars of heaven is because anyone, you know, whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And so that's bigger picture blessing of what you know of Abraham's obedience to God. But let's see, Romans 5, what is it, 6 through 8? For when we were yet without strength, in due time Christ died for the ungodly. For scarcely for a righteous man will one die, yet peradventure for a good man some would even dare to die. But God commendeth his love toward us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Now let's see. And this was part of what Romans wrote. I remember doing that, which we may do. I think I did. Did I do a sermon on Romans Road? Maybe I haven't, or maybe I have, or maybe I'm going to. I don't remember. It's one of the three. But anyway, Genesis 26:4 and 5. But no. Christ is the ultimate blessing for us, for anyone who chooses to follow Him. 26:4 to 5. And I will make your seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto your seed all these countries, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. Just okay. And now Genesis 28:14 to 15. I still have the habit of shutting the Bible every time I read a verse, so I gotta reopen it. Don't understand why I do that. Maybe to prove that I can open up the Bible again. I don't know. Am I a goofball? Yes, that's indisputable. 28:14 to 15. And your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in you shall and in your seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with you, and will keep you in all places where you go, and will bring you again into this land, for I will not leave you until I have done that which I have spoken to you of. And that's kind of a that's kind of a reassuring comment too, because I'm not going to leave you until I have fulfilled what my purpose is for you in your life. And and so yeah, it's like, because there were some cases in the Bible. It's like, oh, I'm gonna die. Like, yeah, if you were gonna die, God, like if you were gonna die, God couldn't deliver the blessing that He promised. So it's like, He protects us like until He's accomplished what He needs to accomplish through us. And that, I mean, that's a humbling thing that God chooses to use a broken vessel. It's like I screw up every day, but yeah, God chooses to use me every day, and that's a very humbling thing. Jesus was an Israelite. Abraham's grandson Jacob wrestled with God and became Israel. And the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is like, and I will read the story of because there's also after I tell you the 12 tribes of Israel, because the story this story is a fascinating story in the Bible. Well, there's a lot of fascinating stories in the Bible. Can teach you so much about life. Literally, when people say, "Oh, you can find any answers to everything in the Bible," yes, you can. You just what is it? There's a song by New Song, Red Letter Day. So many hidden treasures in God's Word for us to find. The mysteries and secrets that are there to bring us life. And so yeah, there's a lot of awesome things in there. But here we go. The 12 tribes of Israel, and they were born through four wives. Jacob married initially, he loved Rachel, his but Laban, because Jacob's mom um, helped Jacob steal the birthright from Esau, and so what goes around comes around, and so Jacob, because of that, um, when he had initially worked 7 years for Rachel, but Laban did not tell him that that the custom was that we give the firstborn first. And so after 7 years, Jacob is given Leah. I mean, not to mention, Jacob is pretty angry about that, as I would be too. But it was it was consequences for for him being involved in the manipulation to steal Esau's birthright. So Jacob worked 7 more years for Rachel, and so he's married to these both both say pretty pretty women. I mean that a guy's dream, right? Nah, I wouldn't want to be married to two women. I could barely handle one. Thank you very much. But no. Jacob married through Leah. They had Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. in like was it Bilhah, which is Rachel's handmaid, they had Dan and Naphtali. Through Zilpah, Leah's handmaid, they had Gad and Asher. And through Rachel, which you had Joseph and Benjamin, and Benjamin was was birthed like towards the end of Rachel's life. Rachel died giving birth to Benjamin, and and these are the you know it was named Benoni, which is son of my sorrow, but it was called Benjamin. And I laugh because my best friend is named Ben, and first thing I said to him hey, you're a tribe. It's like, yeah. Like you're named after a tribe. It's like, yeah. It's like I have a whole tribe after me. I was like, yeah, I like this guy already, but no. But kind of a sidebar. But now getting into the story, Genesis 29:21. Yeah, we're gonna read what Genesis 29:21 to 30:24. Okay. And Jacob said unto Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah his daughter and brought her to him, and he went in unto her. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah his maid for a handmaid. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, What is this that you have done unto me? Did not I serve with you for Rachel? Why then have you beguiled me? And Laban said, It must not be so done in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give you this also for the service which you shall serve with me yet another 7 years. And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel his daughter to wife also. And Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah his handmaid to be her maid. And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, Surely the Lord has looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. And she conceived again, and bare a son, and said, Because the Lord has heard that I was hated, he has therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again, and bare a son, and said, Now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. And she conceived again, and bare a son, and she said, Now will I praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah, and left bearing. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, Give me children, or else I die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, Am I in God's stead? Who has withheld from you the fruit of your womb? And she said, Behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. And she gave him Bilhah her handmaid to wife, and Jacob went in unto her. And Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God has judged me, and has also heard my voice and has given me a son. Therefore she called his name Dan. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, with great wrestling have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah her maid, and gave her Jacob to wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. And Leah said, a troop comes, and she called his name Gad. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. And Leah said, happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. Leah's plum. And then Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray you, of your son's mandrakes. And she said unto her, is it a small matter that you have taken my husband? And would you take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore he shall lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him, and said, you must come in unto me, for surely I have hired you with my son's mandrakes. And he laid with her that night. And God listened to Leah, and she conceived, and bare Jacob the fifth son. And Leah said, God has given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and bare Jacob the sixth son. And Leah said, God has endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterward she bare a daughter, and called her Dinah. And God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her, and opened her womb. And she conceived, and bare a son, and said, God has taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, and said, the Lord shall add to me another son. And now, what I want, there was like a couple things about this which have always, have always jumped out at me. One is, you cannot make a person love you. Unconditionally. You can't make them desire you. There's nothing in one. You're either naturally, I believe in soulmates, okay, and I think soulmates, you don't. It seems like everything that they do is seemingly easy, everything, they were made for each other. That's kind of what it seemed like with Rachel and Jacob. Is Jacob loved her. Jacob would have done anything for her. And it's kind of like, it's kind of like the way, okay, if you watch, One Tree Hill, I like referring back to that. I probably won't. I'll probably refer back to it on many, many more different occasions going forward. But it's kind of like Lucas and Peyton. Lucas and Peyton, they, their love for one another was pretty. It was pretty evident from the get go. Now, they had their times where they were Lucas couldn't. Lucas couldn't hurt Brooke, even though Brooke threw herself at him, and so it caused him to be unfaithful to Peyton, and Peyton was unfaithful to Lucas with Jake. Then but even through that, they found their way back to each other, and that's kind of the way that that true love is. You can't force that. Um, but what Leah and Jacob had was no matter how much she gave him, it was it's never enough. If you are trying to, I mean, if it's based on works, if your marriage is works based, it's never gonna be enough. Um, and so really that was a key lesson there. But also, um, Rachel and Leah, like, they had an unhealthy competition. That there's always that, like, that one upmanship. Well, why have you not? Why have I not bore any children? Like, Leah's had four. What the heck, man? Um, it's like, what is going on here? But no, but competition is a good thing if it's used correctly. Um, Competition can bring out the best in everybody because it pushes people to accomplish more than what they thought they could have otherwise. When it's like, but if it's like competing against one another to the point where you break each other down, that's not good. Like, competition can be, can drive each other to be better, and that's where it's like, that's where it's in the best situation. Leah and Rachel did not drive each other to be better. Like, they were always like, it was like it there was like, jealousy and envy. There's not jealousy and envy when when competition is done with the right, in the right context, like the right context. Which is why, it's funny. Like, I look back as kind of another sidebar. Um, I was always more competitive than my brother, than Cliff was. But what was funny about it was it took me a while to get it. That I would be like, yeah, if I played you in this right now, I'd probably kick your tail. You're like, okay, it's like, and it was his way of saying, you know what, I can compete. I like to compete, but you know what, not in the sense um, of trying to one up my brother. So it's like, that's not. He taught me that is, like, what was more important with that. And that's why he and I worked so well together. Is he was always the balancing point, and we were always on the same page, which is a great thing. We could compete, but in the sense of driving each other to be better. And so, yeah, and that's really all that needs to be said there. But God doesn't use those who seemingly have it together, but those who are a mess that choose to trust Him. And now the last one for this, like, last verse from this is what, Genesis 49:10. Yeah, because, and that even goes along the lines with the what I've made the comment about the best of the best becoming rabbis, and how Christ's disciples were not the best of the best because they went back to attend to their father's business. But God's like, Jesus said to them, "I will like, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Like, he didn't. He doesn't use people that have it all together. He uses people that recognize their need for him to accomplish great things, and which kind of walks into, what is it, 49:10? Yeah, Genesis 49:10. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. Now, Jesus, I mean, yeah, it's like, they call him the, like, scepter or lion, like, Lion of Judah. I kind of like the Lion of Judah song because he really is like, he's a king that unites people to accomplish great things. Like, he is like, um he uses his gifts and abilities and talents to bring out the very best in everybody, and that's really really what it's really all it's like what it's all about. It's like, and like, he used competition. He's like, yeah, I am better than everybody else. I don't need to say it, but I'm going to prove it to you by by helping you to accomplish these, like, these great things. He even says what Jesus even says, that greater things will you do, for I go unto my Father. And I mean, like that, it's so like, I mean, he comfortable. But I mean, that's the ultimate. I mean, like that. That's the ultimate sign of, well, I mean, leadership. It's servanthood. It's, I mean, when you can make the people around you better. You don't need to advertise it. You don't need to say I'm the leader. You don't need to have an ego about it. You can just, I mean, your presence and who you are, that like who you. I mean, who you are, commands the respect. Like when people see Jesus walking, living in you, it's go. They're. I mean, it's not gonna. They're not going to be able to help but to be better, because they're going to see Christ living in you, and that's the greatest miracle and the greatest blessing of it, of it all. But that is it from here. God bless you guys. Love you. Have a good week. Let me know what you think I could have done better. Like, subscribe, comment, all and I will talk to you guys next week.